Oh. Good morning, everybody. It's been a while since it's tough when you have a couple days when you don't think about it. It's like, it's not even there. All right, so today is Daf Lamed Gimel, if I'm not mistaken. I think we got up to the bottom line of Lamed Beis and Beis. Does that make sense? Yep. All right, so let's chazer for a second. We have our Mishnah. Beginning of Elon Aris. So you had Elon Aris Sheshav Kanas. So they get penalized for a pet to pay. We have a very similar Mishnah in the Seches Makkos that said these people get Malchus. So what do you mean? These people pay, right? So we had a couple different terutzim. So we saw two different terutzim so far, and we're going to see a third. So one was Ula. That says we're talking about. So he explained a case. And basically says that anytime one is loke u'mashale, you're only loke. Excuse me, you're only mashale. All right. So therefore, our Mishnah, you're mashale. You go ahead and you pay. And over there, he explains every case why they would not be, why they're not in that case, why there was no penalty in that money penalty. That was Ula. Then there was Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Yechanan says no, opposite rule. If you're loke mashale, you only get Malchus and you don't pay, right? And our Mishnah was a case of there was no payment, and he explained why. Fine. So Rabbi Yechanan, bottom line of Lamed Beis and Beis. So Rabbi Yechanan, my time Ula. Why did he not say like Ula? In other words, why do you not learn like Zera Shava to learn that Mammon and Malchus, right? The Yerchai of Mammon, right, and not Malchus. So my time so in came be talta erbas achescha leisigala. So the lab. So we have a case of when one is normally your chayv kares, and you get malchus if one violates his sister. So if you have to pay every time, right? When you violate your sister, so you never get malchus. So Gemara says chayv b'chaver nami. Top of the page, Lama Gimel. What do you mean? We said there's a case, you hit your friend, right? We introduced there was a lab when he talked to Beis Din, don't hit him too much, right? So you get the Chayiv Malchus, right? And then he also has to pay for damages. So now he came to Tata Lo Yaisi Pen, right? Pen Yaisi. Well, you violate that case, if you pay in that case, you never get Malchus. And Edim Zayim Nami, also Edim Zayim, came to Tata Vayemi Kosa Russia, right? We learn over there, there's a special din, it's also they get Malchus. So Ella Edim Zayim Eshel Kiyuma. No, there is a case of Edim Zayim where you get Malchus and you don't pay. What's that? Right? The Kiyuma Ben Grusha Ben Kalutza. It's not a case where they testify against someone that pays money. Rather, they testify against someone who's a chalal. Right? That his mother was a Grusha or a Chalutza, and therefore he's a chalal. Turns out they were lying. So then you get a case of Malchus and not money. And also, there's a case of Chayv Chaver. You also get Malchus where that if you go ahead and you hit someone where the damages are less than a pruta, then you get malchus in such a case. So therefore, you would fulfill getting malchus for a case of chaver chaveru. And also a chaysa nami. Even if one violates his sister, you can also find a case where you get malchus, you don't pay. What is that? The kima b'achaysa bogeris. If his sister is not a nara, but rather she's a bogeris, right? The only time you pay knas is between the ages of 12 and 12 and a half. But if you violate her when she's 15 years old, there is no kanas in that case, right? They would straight out malchus. So Rabbi Yechanan, you didn't answer us. So Rabbi Yechanan, hi tachas. So he says the whole source of Ula, he learned the Gzeir of tachas. So it says Rabbi Yechanan, hi tachas asher ina mibayla. He actually uses that one of the words of tachas for a different Gzeir sheva, for a different liba. The Kid Abaye, like Abaye says, Damar Abaye, Amar Kar, the pasuk says tachas asher ina. So you have to go ahead and pay the kanas, the penalty. There which you violated is a high takas hashina mechal diika baishis pega. To teach you that in addition to that which you violated, that there's a straight flat fee, a kanas of 50 shkalim. So too, there's also baishis pegam. You would have to go ahead and pay the father for the embarrassment, and also the pegam, right? The lesser the value of the of now the girl. So the Rava, he learns from a different source. From Rava, Dama Rava, Amakar, the Pasuk says, "V'nosan ha'ish ha'sheiche v'imol la'avi anara 50 kesef." So the man gives the father, the father of the girl he lied with, right? The father of the Nara, 50 kesef. Hanas shchiva chamishim. So the hana of the shchiva is 50. Michal the ikabash begam. That only the hana is 50, but there's other payments, i.e., the bush is begam. Fine. Alright, now Rabbi Elazar Omer, Eidin Zaymin Memona Mashalmi Lucky. What's the reason why Eidin Zaymin have to go ahead and pay and they don't get malchus? The reason why they don't get malchus is because they weren't warned. Because I'm a Rabba and says Rabba Teda, right? You should know. So Nisrabu Amos. When are you going to go ahead and warn them? If you're going to go ahead and warn them, now we're talking about warning the witnesses before they go ahead to court and testify falsely. So if we warn them the morning of, so Amri Ishtali, they'll say they forgot. You have to give them, right, the Shas Maisa. If it's during the Shas Maisa, so Parshi B'Loidasadi. People, even good witnesses, will refrain from going out and testifying. Says, what do I need this for? And because they don't know, perhaps other witnesses are going to come and say, hey, you're with us, and they're going to lie. And so they say, it's not worth it to us. And these Libasuk, they go ahead and warn them after they testified. So my Davi Havi. So that's not considered to be a good hasra, right? Because it came after the fact. So therefore, they pay and they don't get malchus. So why don't you go ahead and warn them? Right as they testify, and then immediately after you warn them. Or maybe you can warn them in the morning, right? And then you go ahead and as they testify, or right afterwards, you hint to them. Remember I told you, you point the finger, then they remember that you warned them. So So he says, no, that what you said is not necessarily true. Rather, because if you're going to say they need hasra, right? And therefore, according to you, if we don't warn them, the Edom Zayim do not go ahead and get punished, right? Or they don't kill if it's a case of capital punishment. So miyika mide the inu boy katil blo hasra, ve'inu boy hasra, right? Well, what do you mean? They're testifying against people to try and kill them, and those people were never warned, and they themselves need a warning for them to be killed. Right? You want to do to others, you wanted to kill others with any sort of warning. So why should you, for the same punishment, you shouldn't require a warning for you to be killed? So Maskara Sama Bered Rav Yirmiyah Elamiata Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza Doy Mikasha Zamam comes Rabbi. So if that's the case, okay. So the pasuk of Vasis Lakasher Zamam, we want to that which you want to do identical will do to you. Mm-hmm. So therefore, those cases don't need asra. But we said that if someone goes ahead and testifies against somebody that he's a Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, in other words, you're Mr. Cohen, you think you're a Cohen, you're not a Cohen, you're a Chalal, right? You can't have truma, you can't have all these things, you can't do the avoda, right? And it turns out they're lying. So their punishment is not from Kasher Zomam, because we don't make the witnesses Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, rather from the different pasuk of Bayim because of Russia, right? You give them Malchus. So since that pasuk is not from Malchus, maybe since that their punishment is not from Kasher Zomam, maybe they should require Hasra, they should require a warning. So the pasuk says, Mishpat Echad Yelachem. So therefore it says, no, all Edom Zayim, it says, Mishpat Echad, you should have one rule, Mishpat Hashem Lakuchem. It should be the same warning for all of you guys and others, and therefore they don't need Hasra, so too you don't need Hasra in any case of Edom Zayim. And so that was the proof that we pay and we don't go ahead and give Malchus. And Rav Shisha Berei Dav Idi Omar Chaydo Bechavera Nami Mimoina Mishalim Milcha Lolaki Mehafron. Says no, I'll give you a different a source of one who goes ahead and hits his friend. So we said up there, if you hit somebody, right, there is a lav, potential lav of La Yosef, right? Because that lav is basically given to Beis Din that says only give the Malchus he's deserving. You can't give him too many Malchus or else you get Malchus yourself. And also we know one has to go ahead and pay for the 5 damages, right? So Rav Shisha Berei Amar Chayv B'Chaver Nami Moina Mishalim Milcha Lolaki. Mehachar from a different pasuk. The pasuk says V'chinatzu Anashim V'nagva Isha Hara V'yatza Lodal. So people are fighting, and then they hit a woman, right, who was pregnant, and then she miscarries. Amar Rabbi Elazar, the mitzvah shemisa kasim adaber. Shemitzvas shemisa knows these people they're intending to go ahead and kill one another, and they end up killing her. So or potentially killing her. So the pasuk is ason yeh. So it says over there, and if there is an ason, however, if there is something, a tragedy that comes from there, right? Someone dies from there, then you're a chayiv misa. Now, heichi dami. So what's the case of there? So in other words, we're talking about a case of one guy's trying to kill somebody else. He takes out his gun and he shoots at him and he misses and he hits a woman and she dies. So we say over there, nefesh tachas nefesh. So heichi dami. If he was not warned, am I mikta? Why should he be killed? Right? In order to be chayiv misa, you need hasra. Ela pshita de asube. Right? It must be that he was warned. Hey, don't try and kill your friend that you're trying to kill, because if you kill him, you're going to be chayiv misa. And he ends up killing a woman, and nevertheless, you're still punished. We say over there in that case that if one is warned for something which is more chamor, then he's warned for things that are lighter. In other words, if you're warned not to kill somebody, right, the punishment there is death, that warning is included if the halach is if I go ahead and injure somebody, I get malchus, right? So therefore the warning of don't kill him because he might be put to death works for if I don't kill the guy, I only injure him and I now get malchus. You don't have to go ahead and give him even the lesser punishment. The hasra, the warning for the large punishment, for the bigger punishment, works for the one which is more mekel. The Amrachman the Torah says, Lo yasan anash yanesh. The Torah says, so therefore, this guy has hasra, because we're talking about the case where he was warned because there was a potential death penalty. But since the death penalty is off the table because she didn't die, he only injured her, right? So therefore, we says over there, he has to pay. So here, what do we see over here? That where he has a potential malchus and potential money, he only pays and he doesn't get malchus. So we learn from this case. Who says that that's such a rule? That if one who gives hasra, right, for something more severe, so it works for any lesser punishment. Maybe it's not true. And if that's the case, who says death is more severe than malchus? Dilma malchus chamer. You want to say, right? So yeah, right. I would say that also. I do malchus chamer. Why? How could you possibly think that? The Rav says, if Chananya, Mishael, and Azariah, who were threatened with death, and they said, okay, kill us, we're not going to go ahead and worship the idol. And so they didn't care about it. But if they were threatened with a beating, with Malchus, they would have worshipped the idol. So what do you see which is worse? Right?
They would have worshipped the idol if they were beating.
Right.
No, but who said they would have bowed if there was a beating? If it was for a beating.
Rav says. So let's see. So let's see. Amalei Rav Sama Berei Rav Ashi Rav Ashi. Amalei Rav Sama Berei Rav Ashi Rav Ashi. That's different. You're comparing apples to oranges. In the case of Malchus, you have a defined amount of beating, right? 39 Malchus. But over there, they would have beat them li'elam, right? For whatever it was, with no end in sight. So perhaps with no end in sight, they would have given in. So you see, but nevertheless, when it comes to us, you can't say that Misa is more severe than Malchus Beis Din, because Malchus Beis Din, Yesh Lakitzva. There's a certain amount, right? There's an end to it, right? You get 39 Malchus, then you're done. So okay. So over here we're talking about this whole assumption over here is when a guy we're talking about he's trying to take a nefesh, right? And he hits the woman. So that's assuming that we're talking that when he goes ahead and he gets killed for it. Ella, in other words, if he's intending to kill Bob, who he's fighting with, and he ends up killing a pregnant woman. So till now we said, so therefore he gets, he gets punished because he intended to kill, and he killed the Jew. So, however, yeah, but he'd still be put still considered murder because he had intention to kill a human or a Jew, and he killed a Jew. So, however, so Ella the Rabbi, Mamo, and it says over there the nefesh that you pay with, in other words, you have to go ahead. It's a monetary payment, Michael Maimar. So what are you going to say over there? Because now there's no proof that there was any sort of warning. So, and therefore, if there's no warning, he wouldn't get malchus. So that's definitely the reason why you pay. So Rav Yachim and Abkud Mishmei the Rav Yacha. So the pasuk says, "In Yakum v'Yisalech b'chutz amishanta v'noke the nika hamak." So it says over there, you hurt somebody, injured somebody, and the guy recovers, and then he gets up, and then later on he dies nachai. So that's the pasuk over there, right? If he gets up and from after you hit him, rak shita yitain right? You just pay him, for his his what's it called? His healing. So what do you mean? What's going on here? What the havamina is that even though the guy, right, recuperated from his injuries, right? It's you be chai misa, even though the guy, right, got better, right? Rather lock up the guy. He put him in the. So he injured somebody so severe. He put him in the. He's in the ER. So we lock him up while he's in the ER. And if he ends up succumbing to his injuries, then we go ahead and kill. Then we go ahead and kill this person who ended up, killing because he ended up killing the guy. The low, and if he doesn't, the low maze. Then he goes ahead and just pays for damages. Now, this whole scenario, what's the case? If he was not warned before he got in this big fight and sent the guy to the hospital, why should he be punished with death? He never got asra. We know in order to be given a punishment by Basin, you have to be warned. Ella, rather, shita, it's obvious to asra. Rather, it's obvious that he was given a warning. They gave him hasra. And therefore, since he was warned not to kill the person, if you kill the person, you're going to get punished by Mrs. Beis Din. So too, that warning also works. That if you injure him, you're going to get malchus because of the pasuk. We know that the pantaisif, whatever the pasuk over there is, right? Lo yosef, right? So therefore, the Torah says, even though he's subject to malchus and money, he ends up paying the 5 damages, and he doesn't get malchus. So now we're going to ask him, as we asked before, who says that's true? That if you're warned for something which is chamor, that's considered to be a warning for even a lesser punishment. So perhaps that's not true. And also, even if you want to say, you want to say it, who says misa is a more chamor punishment than malchus? Malchus chamor, maybe malchus more punishing. Says Rav, Imlay Nagde, the Hanan Mishav Azaria, Palchul, the Talmud had been threatened, right, with beatings and with whipped, right? They would have worshipped the idol. Some are Rav Sama berated Rav Ashi, the Rav Ashi, and some say Rav Sama berated Rav Ashi, the Rav Ashi. You can't compare the two. Apples and oranges. They were that which Rav said, if they were threatened, it means they were threatened with unlimited beatings. So then they would have worshipped. Versus a limited beating of Beis Din, that's not that's not more chum. And Maskarova Mari Mimaid v'Mesid v'Noket B'Ktola. So who says over here, right? When he beat the person, Amishanta, right? So V'Nika is referring to that had he would have died, he would have been Chaimisa. Dilma b'Shegig. Perhaps it was a case of shogeg. In other words, it wasn't a case of that he was warned. We say that he must have been warned, and therefore we're talking about a case of he would have been put to death. Maybe it was a case of shogeg, and then he had to go to the Nikem Negolos, and therefore he would have had to go to Golos otherwise. And there is no warning for that. There is no requirement for Golos, and therefore there goes your whole proof that this is a case where the person was warned for malchus and money, and therefore you pay the money instead of getting malchus. So therefore, kasha ends up in a kasha. Now, going back, we said we had Ula, which gave one teres between our Mishnah and the Mishnah of their malchus, and then we had Rabbi Yochanan. Now comes a third one. Reish Lakish Amar Hamani. Who is the author of our Mishnah that says you have to go ahead and pay a knas? Rabbi Meir, that's the opinion of Meir, which we saw earlier. To Amar Leike Umashal says, you know what? That which we say you pay, you also get whipped. You're like Umashal, you get 2 punishments. Just didn't mention the fact that you get whipped. But our Mishnah, when it says Mishalim, it says like it. Rabbi Meir. So the guy says, wait, I don't understand. If our Mishnah is talking about where you get 2 punishments, right? Afilabito Nami. So we only brought scenarios. Say travels asking. See you later, Mitzvah. So Rabbi Meir, Afilo Bita Nami. So our whole scenario of our Mishnah, we only brought cases of Chiyuve Karis, right? If you recall, right? It's only case of Chiyuv Karis. There wasn't a Mises based in, and those cases you're chayiv to pay. But if our Mishnah for some reason didn't bring cases of Mises based in, such as he violated his own daughter. So why don't you leave that case? If you hold, you can get two punishments like Loka Mashale. So why don't you bring Misu Mashale? Bring a case of Bito, right? Maybe Rameir holds only, no, you could only Loka Mashale. You get whipped and paid. But if you're Chayiv Misa, that trumps it all. There is no payment, right? You're done with, right? Below, and you don't. Vatani, we learn in the Bryce, Ganav, the Tavach, the Shabbos. A person, he steals and he shechs, right? And he sells it on Shabbos, or Ganav, the Tavach, Lavaras Chachavim, or he steals and he shechs Lavaras Chachavim, or Ganav, Shor Haniskal, or he steals a Shor Haniskal, an animal that was sentenced to stoning because it was goring, the Tavchu. And then he goes and he shechs it, and right. So mishalim tashlume arba v'chamisha tiver. In addition to your chayiv, your death penalty, your chayiv misa, you also end up paying chamisha 4 or 5 times the amount, which is the punishment for a person who goes out and steals and shechs. Chachamim say pater, right? You pater from paying. Why? Because you're chayiv misa, you only get one punishment. You get the more severe punishment. You only get the more severe one. So what do you see over here? There's Mesu Mishalim, right? So Rameir does go Mesu Mishalim. If that's the case, why did he not include Bito in our Mishnah? So we're answering no. Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Yechon, Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Rabbi Adin, Rabbi Loi, Bechol, Chavusa Mishmei, Rabbi Yechonan. Amri, they say B'Toveach Ayidei because he himself did not do the shechita. Well, what do you mean? That guy does the he does that, and I'm the one who's chayiv. Yeah, the tabcha machra, right? It says and he shechs it or he sells it. Just when he sells, do you have another party? So too with tvicha shechs aydeachir. So too with tvicha also aydeachir. He can do the shechting as my shaliach, and therefore I'd be chayiv for the payment. In addition, I'm chayiv for chavim or the other cases of Shabbos or Shon Niskel. And debate Rabbi Shmuel Tana says the word tavcha machra the rabbis shliach to include the shliach, and the debate Chizkiah Tana tachas it says the word tachas the rabbis shliach. So all these cases einachinami that he wasn't one doing tavicha, but nevertheless he could go ahead and be chayiv. Right, second. I don't know if the video is on, and I'm getting a phone call in the middle. So he said, nevertheless, the or the tachas come to include ina shaliach that one could be chayiv his misa and also the tashlumin through the shlichus of somebody else. All right, we'll stop here. Tonight it's Shem Levi Khan, I think is picking up in here. I want to have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Mitzvah Shem. I'll see you guys next week. Mitzvah Shem. I think I land on Tuesday. So I don't know if I'm going to give Shem Tuesday. So Wednesday, yeah.